What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and to be honest, guys, I've had enough of these charts this week. It's been absolutely crazy, very volatile. Hopefully next week settles down a little bit more, and in environments like these I feel like I'm chasing price, and when I say that, it's like, oh, we saw a down close candle, so let's go short, or we saw out close candle, so let's go long. Like, when I notice myself chasing price, I just stay far away from it, because as you can see, this week's been incredibly volatile. But obviously moving into Friday, hopefully it starts to settle down, and then next week I believe will be a lot more calmer and more one directional, hopefully. But nonetheless, let's jump straight into things. Again, if you haven't yet done so, make sure to join the mailing list. The link is in the description. But first, I want to draw our attention to these relatively equal highs right here. I have spoke about these already, but I thought we could have forgot about them after seeing yesterday's price action. However, it does look like price is returning back to start working its way towards them. So I am going to mark this out as buy side liquidity for the daily. It'll be nice to see if moving into the Friday we can trade on higher into that buy side liquidity and run these stops. And then we have a nice rejection block level right here, so we have a nice range to reach for in here as well. There is a bearish order block on the daily here as well, so this might be a high potentially for premium PDRA, so we'll get this marked out as well. We'll make this black, and we'll put bearish daily, bearish order block like so, and we'll center that. So I'm looking at this buy side liquidity to get traded to, and then if we're going to turn at any point, I'd like to think it would be at this daily bearish order block. Now obviously we came down yesterday on Wednesday, traded into that bullish order block. So the fact that we traded into the bullish order block does say that, okay, now price should start seeking some kind of premium PDRA, and that is what is happening on a daily basis. The reason I was looking for 4-hour PDRAs to trade to was because in ICT's videos I learned that price will go from a daily PDRA to a 4-hour PDRA. So that's why I was able to draw our attention up to obviously this fair value gap to get filled. We traded through that and quite far past it, which is nice to see. So yeah, we'll have to see how price treats this range right here. If we do manage to run these highs next week, if we do, I'm so tired, guys. If we do manage to run these highs tomorrow, it'll be very interesting, because if you remember when we were here on Tuesday and Wednesday, I was saying how I want to see price run this high. Now the way it's done it, if it does run it, the way it's done it, absolutely disgusting, don't get me wrong, but it's interesting that, you know, we can still recognize where price wants to draw to, even if it does do it in the most disgusting way possible. Nonetheless, yeah, so I'm looking for this buy side liquidity to potentially get reached for, assuming we don't just reverse again. If we reverse again, oh my lord. But overall, yeah, these relative equal highs are looking too clean for me, so I do want to see them get swept. And then we have this bearish order block right here, so this range right here, let's just show you what I'm talking about on the 4-hour. It'll be nice to see if we can completely fill that in. So that's what I'm looking for price to draw to. Yeah, let's drop down to the 1-hour, see how price delivered. So you'll see how we did trade on higher, and then we went quite past our target, which is absolutely fine. It was interesting to see how we did turn around at that hourly gap, Sunday opening price I was talking about. So if you watched yesterday's video, you'll remember me talking about this range right here, and I was saying how once price trades to it, it's either going to act as resistance or use it as support. Now we traded to it at 8, and then we had a large reaction to the downside. When I saw this, I was happy to see that, and I did want to see a continuation lower, but you can see that we wicked off that and eventually traded through it completely. So now that we traded through it, this should now continue providing support. So if we are to retrace again and come back into this range, I'll be expecting this to provide support for price to then send it into those relative equal highs above here. So it's as simple as that. It's clearly using this as some kind of barometer for price, whether it's going to act as support or resistance. But generally speaking, right now, if we are straight on higher, I would like to see a retracement back to it to then see it provide support. Don't get me wrong, we do have relative lows right here with stops below, but what I did like to see, which is suggesting to me that price is likely to continue higher, is the fact that we run these lows right here. So the way that price snapped down real quick and grabbed these stops below this low and then traded on higher, is saying to me, okay, well, the stops have been grabbed here, obviously we've grabbed stops below here, and there's obviously a willingness to want to go higher, and we know that there's relative equal highs here and here. So there's going to be a lot of buy side liquidity up there, and it'll have every reason to reach up there. So that's what I'm looking for Friday. Again, as you can see, this week's been one of the most messiest weeks I've witnessed in a while. It's like, yeah, it's going a bit crazy. So very low probability as per usual this week. But again, next week, hopefully we'll get back in. And guys, don't let this get to you. Like, weeks like these, I know they can be stressful. So definitely take your time with it. Be easy on yourself. And now let's head over to GBP USD. So GBP was quite interesting. We traded on lower. Wait, where are we? Wednesday. Yeah. Let's start on the daily. That makes sense. So we had a down close candle, even though I did want to see more upwards price action. Don't get me wrong, we did come back into the range I was talking about. However, never got the reaction or response which I wanted. So what does that mean? Well, now we can start looking at this range down here to get traded to. Again, if you watch Tuesday night's video, you'll know I was speaking about this wick of possibly getting traded to. So it'd be nice to see if we can start to work our way down towards it. What's interesting about this week's price action is that although we've traded, crazily, the targets which I've drawn our attention to are still getting like used, so to speak. So everything I've already spoke about, they just become relevant based off what's happening, if that makes sense. So now this range is relevant again because, well, we're seeing this heavy downwards price action and downwards pressure. So it'll be interesting to see if price can get down there. Let's get this sell side liquidity delineated like so. This is an implied fair value gap on the lower time frames. We should be able to identify a better one now. So let's go to the 4 hour. You can see clear displacement to the downside, bearish order block right here. If price does want to retrace back into that, it'll be nice to see if price can turn at that level to then send it in towards its sell side liquidity and into this consolidation right here. Now, don't get me wrong, we have traded down into a bullish order block. So how price treats this bearish order block, assuming we do get up there, is going to be a deciding factor on whether we are bullish or bearish. Let me say that again. So we've came down, we traded into a bullish order block right here, and then we've come off of it. So if price respects this bearish order block now, that means, like, as in respects it, as in turns at it, we can start looking for this sell side liquidity to get grabbed, right? But if price wants to start trading through this, then we'll probably have to start thinking about more premium PDA rates, which ideally I wouldn't want to see because that would be absolutely insane after what we've already had. But I wouldn't put it past the markets at this point, guys, honestly. So let's go to the 1 hour. You can see absolutely disgusting price action the way it got down here. And again, similar to dollar, we ran stops. On this wick here, we came, grabbed all those stops, and then since then price has failed to trade on higher. So that's why I'm expecting that if price is to retrace back into this range, it should find resistance to then send it down into the sell side liquidity down here. Really simple. Again, quite ugly, but it'll be interesting to back test this week. But I do like, when I say like, I mean like it's useful to see price wicking up like that. Like, okay, ching, grab those buy stops. Where are we going to release them? Below sell side liquidity, below sell side liquidity, etc., etc. So that's just something to take into account. I hope that all makes sense. Let's see if we can retrace into this bearish order block I was talking about. It was a 4 hour bearish order block. And we'll move this to the right. So we know that when price gets there, we want to look for kind of resistance. We do have a mitigation block. It's mitigation because of the wicks, but it's more of a breaker. Actually, no, it is a breaker. We've got a high, a low, a higher high, and then price is delivered to the downside. So I am watching this wick very closely, this candle, sorry, for resistance. So it'd be nice to see if we can trade into that. Let's go to the 5 minute. Let's take a closer look, and we can what's the word? Focus that down into just this one ground close candle right here. High, low, higher high, break. So when price, and it is very, and you see how we keyed off it here and traded lower. It's very classic for price to return to it again and then trade on lower. And you'll see what I mean if price wants to do it right. If we trade above that, we're bullish. It's as simple as that. And when I say bullish, I mean into these highs, and I'd be looking at these highs. But looking at how strong dollar's moving, like I said, we have these beautiful relative equal highs up here that I'd like to see get taken the same way GBP has these lows. So this low and this low. So yeah, that's what I'm anticipating, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some kind of rally maybe during the London session and then a reversal midday or something. So that's everything for Friday. Let's finish up on Euro USD. Here are those highs which I wanted to get taken. earlier on. But nonetheless, let's take a look. So here's where we traded down into our range that I drew our attention to in yesterday's video. Let's go to the 4 hour. I drew our attention to this range, and then we completely traded through it and through the breaker. So the fact that Euro's trading through all of these what should have been bullish PD arrays is becoming really obvious to us that we obviously want to trade lower, right? So based off that, this is now putting us in a position where we have the advantage, as in, okay, the fact that it's completely disrespecting anything bullish at this point, we can probably comfortably say, okay, we want to look for lower prices. Let's now see where we could be trading to. Well, we have a bullish order block right here, but that's not low enough for me. So let's look at this range, this long wick. I'm going to mark out the 50% of that, and then when we drop down to the 4 hour, we may be able to find a PD array within this range that price may want to trade to. So let's get that delineated like so. Make it red and dashed. That's how I usually do my consequent encroachments. And now this massive green candle is an order block. Why? Because we've closed below it, meaning that the opening of that should be sensitive and the midpoint of that should also be sensitive. So I'm going to be watching this level very closely as well, moving into the new day with the expectation for price to then move on lower. So let's get that like so. Let's go to the 4 hour and see what we can find. So obviously we have another fair value gap and inversion fair value gap right here. What's an inversion fair value gap? Well, we delivered on the upside, creating a fair value gap. Did we respect it? No. Why? Because we've closed below it on the downside on a daily basis. So when price retraces back into it, what do we expect? It to provide resistance. What levels should we be looking at? Well, we can split fair value gaps into quarters, can't we? And as you can see, the first quarter just happens to line up with the midpoint of that wick off the bearish order block. So when things like this line up, I do like it, although this week there's been a lot of things that have quote unquote lined up, and you can see how price has moved. So this is why, and where probability comes into account, and you just need to be careful, guys. Generally speaking, fair value gap here, low, high, so I want to see us trade into that. You can see again 25% level off the inversion and 50% level of that more local fair value gap, and then we have relative equal lows below here. Let me just show you. So these are relative equal lows, this low and this low, so there's going to be sell stops below there. I'd like to see us run nicely down there and start reaching down into this range. Don't get me wrong, if we have a mad day tomorrow, is this Friday? No, that's next week. Don't get me wrong, we could bypass this very much and start looking at these lows. But right now my target is the consequent encroachment of that daily, which is right here. So I'm looking for this to get traded to. Let's go to the 1 hour just to see. Again, I'd like to think we can retrace into this range. I don't want to see it get deep in there at all. Remember, this is a 25% level. I want to see that get respected at the very highest. And that would help me with framing shorts. Do we have any kind of PD array? Well, would you look at that? We just happen to have a fair value gap on the hourly, mind you. That price may want to trade down and try and fill in the new day. So let's get this dragged out. At least we know where we want to see get filled. Like so. So we've got hourly fair value gap. And then, like similar to what I was saying earlier, what I've learned is that what ICT taught was that price will go from a daily PD array to a 4 hour PD array to a 1 hour, etc., etc. Well, if this is a 4 hour PD array, this fair value gap, what is a 1 hour PD array that we can offset? And that would be this one, wouldn't it? So that lines up nicely with his concepts and his ideas. It'll be interesting to see if it plays out. But like I said, this week's been crazy. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope you found this insightful. Thank you so much for sticking around. Make sure to smash subscribe, smash like, join the Discord, and also join the mailing list. The link is in the description. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on Sunday. Fresh week next week, guys. Should be really good, should be really interesting. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.